The continuation of The Roots of the Kind, the Missick sisters.
This video highlights critical issues that I plan to explore and discuss further in my book writing project, Roots of the Kind. It includes my and my siblings' experiences within the educational system in the TCI. These are our own experiences and perspectives, focusing on the impact of harsh disciplinary measures on students, mental health, and overall well-being. By redacting specific names and language, the emphasis shifts from individual blame to a broader discussion on systemic practices that may inadvertently contribute to student trauma, and better discuss the effects of generational trauma. This narrative underscores the importance of reflection and reform in academic and cultural environments, encouraging stakeholders and the public to consider the long-term effects of punitive measures. This approach aims to spark dialogue and inspire the development of compassionate and effective strategies that prioritize student growth and resilience, ultimately fostering a healthier, more supportive educational community. This video and blog post are not intended as an attack on any individual or institution. These stories reflect personal and family experiences in the Turks and Caicos school system, shared to shed light on challenges that still need improvement. Their relevance lies in how they have shaped the world building and themes of the kind. These are not attacks, they are stories. My story, my sisters' stories. Stories that shaped who we are, and stories that shape the kind. I share them to honor truth, to break cycles, and to show how real histories of schooling, colorism, and silence in the Caribbean flow into my creative work today. Before the kind became a myth map, it was a memory map. Leeward docks, potcake dogs, and classrooms that taught more fear than facts. This is the story of three sisters in Turks and Caicos, and the roots of the kind. I was born in Grand Turk in 1992. Providenciales was still underdeveloped, with no hospital at the time. My parents started poor, building catch-the-wave charters from the old Leeward dock, bone fishing, snorkeling, deep-sea trips. Our early homes were modest. I even slept in a bathroom on a pink princess bed. But we also had dogs, German shepherds and potcakes. With them I felt safe. With them, I could walk into mangroves and bush without fear. But when it came to school, safety was harder to find. My first schools were Precious Treasures, then Ashcroft, then Richmond Hills. At Richmond Hills I learned what colorism feels like when it carries a ruler. Called, red-skinned, punished for speaking up, silenced for being different. If I shared a happy memory, like fishing with family, I was beaten for bragging. My hair was a constant battle. Too curly for white products, too loose for black ones. Teachers sent me out of class to have it fixed. I missed lessons. I missed belonging. Eventually, I was held back from taking the high school entrance test, not because I wasn't ready, but because someone decided I wasn't. I fought back, studied on my own, passed, and went on to Maranatha High. But the scars remain. Anxiety about tests, fear of failure, silence as survival. Those scars became bones for the kind. A story of trauma, resilience, and transformation. My sister Sky remembers Ashcroft fondly, but Richmond Hills as cruel. She recalls punishments, rulers, wires, arms up discipline, for wrong answers or quietness. She kept her head down, blocked out names and details. What she carried forward was distrust, the sense that school was not safety, but surveillance. That being different meant being a target. Her consent to share this story is her way of helping others recognize the signs. My sister Raven calls Richmond Hills hell in itself. She remembers humiliation, being shamed for coloring strawberry shortcake yellow instead of brown, beatings with metal-edged rulers, lunch withheld while rewriting spelling words 5, 10, 30 times. She remembers cutting her hand taking a blow meant for another child, a bleeding toe forced back into a shoe so she could stand and pray. She remembers being singled out, labeled dirty, compared unfavorably to others. Even years later as an adult, she watched our younger half-sister face similar patterns. Denied tissues, confusing spelling bee eliminations, labeled a bad kid. Raven's words are sharp because the wound is. To understand how the kind takes root, you also need to hear my father's voice. He grew up in Turks and Caicos before electricity, before plumbing, learning survival from his parents, my grandparents. Their lives tell the story of how ordinary people carried us forward after slavery.
For work, your grandpa was a seaman and a mason. Mason is people who build like all those native stone walls and do a lot of plastering and concrete. That's what he did. On the land, but on the water, seaman. He grew up working on those mail boats back in the day that they used to take the boats to take the mail from the Grand Turk, the capital, all through the Caribbean and down to Bermuda. So he was a sailor basically and a boatman. Then he evolved to being a fisherman, free diving and fishing. That's where I came in and learned my skills from fishing. And his ancestors go all the way back to the slave trade. You can trace our ancestors all the way back to the slave trade, coming down from Africa through the Caribbean onto the Caribbean islands. And same with your grandma. Her ancestors comes all the way down from the slave trade, even though they were not slaves. They were already, slavery was abolished by the time they were born, but not too long before they were born. She was a farmer. She has her own fields, grew a lot of her own crops, and she did a lot of basketry works. Like her skill was in weaving and making different types of straw works, like the Indians did, and basketries and stuff like that. But her ancestors also went back, came up through the hard times of the ending of the slave trade. So they saw like not the slave part, but after that part, how tough life was for people to, sustain life in the island. So they grew their own food, had their own fields for corn, potatoes, cassavas, tomatoes, okra, beans, yam, watermelons, papayas, a lot of local fruits, sugar cane, what they didn't use for the making rum, but they just grow it so they can eat it, chew it, and eat it. And we made our own grits from the corn. We had hand mills. We had our own chickens and pigs and cows. So they grew up. And back in the day, before there was plumbing and all that, we used to have something called the outhouse. A little house out in the back where you would go to do your thing. I don't know if you know about outhouses. But we were here before electricity. I even came before electricity. Electricity never came until I was about 10 years old. Yeah, I think 10, 11 years old. So I grew up in all of that.
My father's story doesn't stop in the past. It flows into the present, into how he sees our islands today, and the unfinished business of Britain's colonial shadow.
How we feel and how the islanders benefited or not benefited from the British, and how we feel about the British still being here. Because the island at this point, Turks and Caicos Island at this point, is starting the groundwork to go for our independence. We would like to be independent of the UK and independent of British colonialism law, because it's outdated and it's old and it dates all the way back to slavery. So we are the government at this point is already starting the groundwork and the litigations and laws changing and stuff to submit to the British government that we will be seeking our independence from them shortly. So that should be done in the next 3 years or so. So no, we're not too happy about the British still here in our country because they don't do much for us. They help out after a crisis situation, but they're in charge. They're still in charge of our defense department, and they're still basically the overseer of our territory. So we have to answer to the British from all the way here in the Turks and Caicos. Most Caribbean countries has already ousted the British from their country, but the British presence is still there. Their presence will always be there and be here because they have businesses here, and that is going to have to be tolerated and just the way the mean of life is. But as far as the British and our government and having a say way overseas, they really aren't doing much to help the local population of Turks and Caicos, and the population already see that. So we are leaning towards our independence very shortly. They're putting the groundwork in right now, laying the full foundations for our independence as we speak. The government's pretty stable. The island is making good money. Caicos Islands is now a stable economy. So investors are coming here and investing because of the beauty, because of the culture, because of the climate, and because of our beautiful waters and our beaches. That's mainly is the landscape, the beautiful beaches and waters. It's mainly why tourists come here. And the constant climate, the constant sunshine. Temperatures are 81 degrees year-round, almost year-round. So people come here to soak up some sunshine and enjoy the Caribbean breeze and our beautiful waters and our beaches. That's mainly what we sell. Plus we sell stability. People who are purchasing land, buying property, building villas, building resorts. They know their investment is safe because the country has a stable government. People look to invest in Caribbean countries that has a stable government, even though we have election every 4 years. Now the election is going to be every 5 years. They move it to 5 years now. They just changed the law since the PNP, which was the government in power last, and has won most of the general public election again. They have now changed the law of election from every 4 years, like Canada and the US and the places, to now every 5 years. So they got 5 years to do a lot of work, right a lot of wrong, get a lot of things that aren't done. The island has big plans, and the island is booming. Turks and Caicos is booming. Our real estate market is booming. Our construction market is booming. And our tourism market is booming. Turks and Caicos was the #1 Caribbean destination for the last 3 years. I think we're now #2, but still pretty high up there.
What we endured wasn't just personal, it was historical. From 1492 onward, Europe reshaped the Caribbean. After emancipation in 1833-38, missionary schools carried the British grammar model into the colonies. Schools taught literacy with obedience, corporal punishment, strict exams, respectability politics. These habits echoed slavery and colonial rule. Turks and Caicos, administered with Jamaica until 1959, inherited these systems intact. The classroom became a colonial echo chamber. Obedience enforced by fear, silence mistaken for learning, colorism reinforced by authority. This is why the kind doesn't just invent demons, it remixes the ones we lived. This is the spine of our story. Generations surviving, adapting, resisting. From outhouses and hand-milled grits, to tourism booms and independence plans, that arc, the struggle to be seen, to be free, to define ourselves, flows straight into the kind. The kind doesn't sensationalize pain, it metabolizes it. Our folklore, Souquillon, La Diablesse, Hartmann, was survival code. Don't wander at night, beware the predatory. Obeya workers were not cartoon villains but community specialists. Like memory itself, folklore is fluid. As Marsha Gomez McKee writes, we're free to retell and renew. In the kind, the open eye is a key between worlds, the scene and the hidden classroom where we learned our first myths, fear, shame, and eventually resistance. Stories are survival. Survival becomes transformation. This is the root of the kind. Thank you for listening to our story. Thank you for seeing where the kind begins. We are now done with our story's roots and will venture further into European influence, as well as my own journey growing into an adult in Canada, including my mother's story and her side of the family. Before then, we had more detailed stories to share between my sisters and me, growing up in the Turks and Caicos Islands.